Well, we're finally within 1 week of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom releasing, and I'm pretty excited. It's been kind of ramping up for me as we've gotten closer and closer, and to be honest, after the game leaked out and there were a lot of things getting posted around what happens to you in the game and all of this stuff, and a lot of the game is kind of out there now, I'm even more excited, and we're going to go over some different things that have been happening behind the scenes when it comes to Nintendo and some of the leaks and the piracy that's been going on, as well as even at the end, I'll give my Metacritic score prediction just for fun. So if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you like it and subscribe if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel. So first of all, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, I'm not talking spoilers or anything like that, but it has leaked online, and it's been certainly in the news. Some places more than others, like Kotaku, who basically just went up and down many of the things that we've learned from people basically playing the game early. And every single day I've noticed there's another person just streaming the game. Sometimes multiple streams will go live, and Nintendo comes in and will copyright strike them down, as you would expect. We know Nintendo and most companies even will try to cut any of that stuff out, as they do have embargoes that are in place right now. So it's unfair, clearly, to the people who are working to review this game very quietly for people who have managed to secure early copies by way of downloading it online after it leaked out through either a warehouse or maybe that Mercari listing. But Nintendo has become more and more aggressive. And, well, first, let's take a look at some things to look forward to here for The Legend of Zelda, as there is a Treehouse that's been announced, and this is going to be happening May 11th, starting 6:45 p.m. Pacific, or 9:45 p.m. Eastern, and they say it's going to, beginning with a Nintendo Treehouse Live presentation featuring gameplay from Tears of the Kingdom. Seems like it's going to basically run up, I guess, until midnight when the game officially releases. And as I mentioned, the internet's going to let out a sigh of relief because the game is finally out, and it's one that people have been looking forward to for years now, as Nintendo did announce it. When was that? 2019 at E3. So a lot of anticipation and hype has been building up around this. But also behind the scenes, Nintendo has become pretty active when it comes to emulation for the Switch. And we've kind of discussed how Nintendo has been dealing with something that is not very common for these companies, where their system has been, almost perfectly emulated. And it's actually to the point where you will get visual upgrades just by emulating it, as some of these emulators have become pretty advanced at this point. Breath of the Wild has been hacked back and forth, left, right, up, down, everything, to where it's 4K 60, and people have done multiplayer mods, and it's gotten out of hand. And that also speaks to how popular Breath of the Wild is and how good of a game that it is. But Nintendo recently, in fact 2 days ago, made an interesting move, and they issued a DMCA takedown request on GitHub, and it's for the Lockpick tool. There are talks that there are other things they may have DMCA'd when it comes to the homebrew and the emulation scene for the Nintendo Switch. But this one in particular has sort of caught headlines because of what it's supposed to do. And we can see this tweet that was posted up where they learned of this DMCA strike, saying Nintendo has just issued multiple DMCA takedown requests to GitHub, including for Lockpick, the tool for dumping keys from your own Switch, which is absolutely ludicrous. Pirates aren't going to be sourcing keys from their own console. All right. So when you set up one of these Switch emulators, it's very similar to if you have an emulator that requires, say, a BIOS file. You need to source that technically from your own system. Think of the PS2. All right. If you emulate that, you do need a BIOS file, and you generally are supposed to get it from your own physical console that you own, right? Like that's kind of how they work around the copyright side of things, because BIOS files, or in this case, product keys or keys from your Switch, technically would fall under like copyright laws for Nintendo, so they can make a case on that end if it's included in the emulator itself. So dumping the keys with your Switch, it's not hard to do, but you would need a hacked or soft modded Switch in order to accomplish that. And Lockpick is a tool that's been designed, which is completely open source. It's on GitHub, to get your own keys and then use it on your emulator, essentially showing that, yes, you do own a Switch and you are looking to use an open source emulator to play the games on your PC. And the part that's really interesting is this has been ongoing for quite a while, and Nintendo, we know, has been very aggressive when it comes to emulation, leaks, piracy, tools that can circumvent the Switch or really any of their hardware, where the person who's created it is also looking to turn a profit from it. It's one of the reasons that we don't really see Nintendo go after open source emulators that are just kind of put out there and you can look through all the source code and everything, because it's clear in that case that they're not hiding anything and it's all original code. It's not taken from Nintendo's own code that they do have copyright claims to, because in order to build out these systems or any of the source code, Nintendo does own that. And that's one of the reasons that you see these keys that are unique to different Switch systems not being included, because then Nintendo, yes, would start striking and taking this stuff down immediately. So instead, they're going after the tool that allows you to get your own keys from your system, which does kind of wade into the gray area when it comes to the legal side of emulation. And I don't know enough about copyright law or DMCA law, any of that stuff, to know where exactly this is going to fall. A lot of people are leaning towards Nintendo maybe stepping out of bounds here a bit in order to try to make this happen and maybe push GitHub to just pull this down. But the other thing that's mentioned here is that pirates aren't going to be sourcing keys from their own consoles. And in fact, a lot of people just pass around keys online. And as they're mentioning here, people who want to have an emulator up and running to, say, play Tears of the Kingdom, as is getting passed around a lot, they'll just find product keys that are just shared online and download them and plug them into their emulator, and they're off and running without owning a Switch. And because this appears to have been something that was found and noticed on May 4th, it does feel like it's lining up with everything that's going on with Tears of the Kingdom. This is a high-profile release for Nintendo, no doubt. So I have a feeling, there's a crazy hunch, that Nintendo is not happy about this game getting out there early, and not happy about the fact that people are indeed just playing it through an emulator on their PC, as they have to deal with their system being completely emulated and actually better than the original hardware during the console's generation. It doesn't seem to have slowed the sales in any meaningful way when it comes to the software or the hardware, but as we know, Nintendo, very, very protective when it comes to their intellectual properties, their systems, their company. So generally when they strike pretty hard, which is probably why this story here with Reggie kind of blew up online, where he quote tweeted a person who seemed to be pointing out them having Tears of the Kingdom early, which I guess is playing into the idea of them downloading it and then running it on an emulator on their PC, or even running it on a modded Switch. But Reggie wasn't messing around with that, and I feel like probably just made a joke, but it kind of spiraled out of control from there online and went viral, where he quoted made a quote here from a line in a famous movie saying, "I don't know what you want. What I do have are a particular set of skills I have acquired over a very long career, skills that make me a nightmare for people like you." That person not only deleted their tweet after this happened, but then just deleted their entire Twitter account, it seems. Or they locked it down to where it looked like it was deleted. Last I saw, it was just gone, like just completely off the face of the internet. And Reggie didn't want people to forget after they deleted the tweet. He actually screenshotted it and followed up his original quote. Now, this obviously led people to jokingly say the Nintendo ninjas found this person and got to them and just erased them off the face of the planet. Really, the person was probably just getting bombarded by all kinds of replies and tweets, and they were like, "No, that's enough social media for me." Deleted the tweet, deleted their account, and then just kind of move along, I guess. They may have been, again, kind of creating the account just to troll Reggie, and he definitely flipped it back on him. As for the Lockpick thing with GitHub, I don't know if Nintendo is mostly just doing this as maybe a scare tactic to see if they'll kind of fold and pull this down without too much fuss, or if they're willing to really pursue this in hopes that they can eventually get what's the source of these product keys getting pulled off of Switches completely erased. But it's not really going to get erased, because while it's on GitHub now, many people have downloaded this and will probably just continue to re-upload it. So once again, seems kind of like a message that Nintendo is attempting to put out there, but interesting that they decided to do it now towards the end of this current Switch's generation. Maybe in their mind, they have to start getting on this even after with Tears of the Kingdom coming up, but for their next platform that they would be launching, which I have a feeling they've learned a lot from this generation with the Switch, and clearly so because they've done revisions with the current Switch with Mariko, and they've worked to increase overall security. So most likely their next system probably won't launch with the Clippy from Microsoft Word being able to hack your Switch. With all that said, let's talk about Metacritic score predictions. Will it really mean much necessarily? No, because I think the game's just going to sell incredibly well. But there is that sense of, will it be able to score higher than Breath of the Wild, which is currently sitting at a 97. It's a very difficult score to get, let alone beat that score going up to a 98. I have been looking at the different leaks that have gotten out there. Some it was impossible to avoid because they're just on the Twitter timeline as you scroll through. Some, I will say, were getting hit with DMCA takedowns. So again, Nintendo been very, very busy and active on social media. But when Kotaku posted up their article, I did go through some of it to confirm that they really were covering leaks, which sounded wild based on some of the stuff they had said previously. But it's Kotaku. They're going to Kotaku. So after looking through some of it, my current Metacritic prediction, I think it's going to tie Breath of the Wild. I honestly believe, which it technically means it would probably really be higher in spirit, because over time, clearly, Breath of the Wild has aged a bit, and you look back on it now, if it re-reviewed currently, probably wouldn't be at a 97, as expectations have gone up since it came out. And you know what? I think Tears of the Kingdom, it's taken everything to the next level. That's all I'm really going to say here, and I absolutely cannot wait for it to come out on Friday. I think what I'm going to do, though, is I'll attempt to get it with the Australian trick or whatever it is, where you get it from an eShop that technically has it posted early. I'm curious if that'll work for this one. Again, the way Nintendo is kind of looking at things when it comes to the launch of Tears of the Kingdom, all the stuff that's happening with piracy around it and downloads. I don't know if they're going to play around with a global launch time or anything, but that might be the plan. Get it slightly early through legitimate means with the eShop, and maybe do like an initial hour or two playthrough, cut it down and give my initial impressions as I'm going through it. So I think that could be a lot of fun. But let me know what you guys think about this one down below, with Nintendo becoming very aggressive to where DMCA takedowns are being thrown around for the tool that allows you to pull keys off of your Switch, enabling emulation in the first place for the system. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.